Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Luca, and I'm part of the volunteer generator team. It's my pleasure to introduce what we've been doing for the past, this weekend, as well as the past few weeks. So let's start at the beginning. There is 5 of us, myself, Nadine, Milos, Hugo, and Iga. We are all from different backgrounds, and we try to use this diversity of thought to our advantage in order to make the most, to make out the most from this project. So our motto is finding amazing volunteers, amazing people for science communication events. As we showed in the introduction video, you might encounter a problem when you want to organize an event. You might have a great idea, but you don't know how to do it by yourself, or you know how to do it, but you don't necessarily have the skills. And this is where we intervene with our project of the volunteer generator. So what are we aiming for? What we're trying to do is to build a bridge between visionary organizers and enthusiastic volunteers. The organizers then can offer a sense of community or achievement to any potential volunteer for an event. And in exchange, those volunteers would give back their skills, their energy, their time and passion to those organizers. So eventually, everybody wins. Our mission is very straightforward and simple. It's to improve the process of recruitment and training of volunteers for public events organized by the scientific community. So in the general purposes, we've built a simple scheme where our project can help in the highlighted parts. So as mentioned before, we can be the bridge between recruiters and volunteers, where we help with the advertisement of the event, the recruitment, and the agreement in between the two parties. Then we can offer some guidelines in order to make correct prototyping, team building, as well as coordinating over time. And after the science communication event has taken place and the general public has been interacted with, we can also have feedback and suggestions for future events so that the volunteers can volunteer again for other events and that the coordinators can organize new events as well. Then for the solutions, I give the floor to...
So let me now introduce you to the outcomes of our hackathon, of our work that we've done through the whole hackathon. We tried to approach our challenge holistically, considering different channels of communication and creating a step-by-step guide to successful organization of an event. Moving to the guideline, what we have prepared offers detailed instructions on different things that one should take into consideration when planning an event. So you could find there an exemplary timelines, communication strategy, or volunteer organizer platform description. And to present the content of the guideline in a more approachable way, I would say, we have created a nice roadmap to visualize all the most important steps leading to success.
Furthermore, we've assembled some examples on social media. We've created a Twitter and Instagram account with a possible recruitment or call for volunteers, how this could look like. This is the post which we shared in the Mattermost challenge, which the participants might have seen. We've also made a mock-up of a website, which could be possible in the future, where volunteers can fill out some questions concerning their experience and register for a cycle event, and where organizers can match them, and almost like a volunteer database.
So what makes us different? So most importantly for us, this tool has to be useful. We can produce a lot of things out there and they won't actually provide any utility. So obviously feedback from mentors was very, very important for this. And what we found out is this is some examples of the feedback that we got. And one of the things that really comes through is the importance of clear and informative communication, both from organizers as to what they want to achieve and what they need to achieve it, and from volunteers as to what roles really interest them and how we can keep them motivated and involved, because even the most enthusiastic volunteer, if they don't feel part of something, will eventually lose interest and move on to something else. So where we can make a difference from this is that we see Volunteer Generator as a nexus where organizers can learn how to prepare for events and what they need to consider, where volunteers can understand what roles they can take in an event and what expectations might be from them in terms of time, but also how they can improve their skills, stay motivated, and really have an invigorated and motivated community of event facilitators, both from the organizer and volunteer point of view.
Our vision for the future is to further work on our platform to make a fully functional website, which would include a database of volunteers and intuitive recruitment funnel. After this, we want to connect again with the science communicators at CERN to show our product and start cooperation with them, which would also result in creation of community of coordinators and volunteers. Finally, when our project will reach maturity, we want to scale outside of CERN and be a global platform for science communication events. Thank you very much, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Team Volunteer Generator. Again, I would just hand it over to the judges.
I do have a question. I mean, a very interesting concept that you are presenting. Do you see that, I would like to focus on the volunteer concept. Do you think that cultural or age would have an influence on the way this volunteer generator would be adjusted to get these people on board, or because clearly different countries or different age may significantly have different way of being recruited? What do you think about that?
So in order to achieve this, we would need to do a grassroots work, because one of the reasons why there are, for example, a little number of young guides during the weekdays is that usually they can only volunteer during the weekends, and during the week mostly the retired scientists from CERN volunteer. So if we would be able also to target the department heads at CERN to like show them and like give them the message how important the volunteering outreach is, they would be like more willing to accept their employees' willingness to volunteer during the week for guides activities.
Thank you.
Yeah, on top of that, we can, for example, have some anecdotes from the open days at CERN from last September, where often the volunteers who over 3,000 volunteers that participated did not participate because they like many of them were asked by their supervisor to do it. So there was like this discrepancy between the volunteers who were enthusiastic and the other ones that, for example, said, I have too much work to do, I have a paper to submit, or some obstacle, so I may have to decline, or I will only be a volunteer if I'm really forced. So one of the issues that we would like to discuss in this volunteer generator is, instead of looking at CERN open days or other opportunities as chores, but we should look at them as investment for the future, because during those open days we had opportunity to really interact with thousands of people across Europe and the world. Like really, people came from different continents just for this event, and among them there were children, teenagers, and like young, very young people. And if we do a good job in showing what science is, like showing what CERN is or whatever is going on, then in a few years, maybe those children and teenagers, when they grow up, they will like to join CERN or join the scientific community in general. So instead of saying, yeah, we need 50 volunteers for this event, and we don't have that many hands showing up because they have other they have other things on their mind, we should really encourage them to really be enthusiastic, because it's part of something bigger. It's really about the the future of science and the future of CERN.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting topic as well, because we all have to deal with volunteers. I was wondering, you were talking about a database, which means that potentially you're thinking that the volunteers can volunteer for more than an event. Do you imagine a way of sustained motivation, because you identify it as a key factor? And if you do, well, could you tell me a bit more on how to sustain motivation?
Sure. So like you say, one of the things that we came across while speaking to both organizers and volunteers is that, like, for people to stay motivated, they have to feel like they have some skin in the game by continuing to partake in events. That means they have to feel that their work is recognized. Like if you volunteer and then after the event someone says, okay, bye, that's not motivating. That's a great way to lose volunteers. But also they have to feel like they're making a difference. So knowing that them volunteering for the event and that the event has made a difference to people is really important. And this also has to be communicated to people. So that's one component of it. And another component is kind of building a community, right? If people feel they're part of a community, they stay invested and they stay motivated and they're more willing to give time. So one thing that is in the guidelines, and which I'm not sure how much is used in a lot of events, is this idea of a volunteer coordinator. So someone who it is their responsibility to keep volunteers involved and motivated. This doesn't mean that it can't be shared, but it's this idea that taking volunteer concerns and volunteer motivation as something that's very important and giving time and resources to it allows you to do things like run social events, even just keeping in touch, being able to say, our last event a month ago was really well received. Here's some positive feedback we had from it. We're planning an event in 3 months' time. If you would like to take part, here is where we're going. So it's really just keeping this sense that they're not just a resource that's been picked up and thrown away, but they're really vital and core to the success of the event as much as speakers and the audience.
Thank you again.
Just to
Oh, sorry,
So
go ahead. Yeah.
if I might just add to what Hugo just was mentioning, that was one of our suggestions for the ideas for the future improvements. We would like to add to our platform a space to connect and to kind of facilitate creation of this community of volunteers and organizers, so that they could share their feedback and also their positive emotions coming from volunteering in events. And that would be also a tool to kind of help convince volunteers, potential volunteers who are still hesitant, when they can access a space where people actually share their opinions and enthusiasm on the events they already took part in. I believe that would be very convincing to just join this community who is so happy taking part in many special events.